All right, everybody. Today's Tri-State Triumphs take us to Kent, Ohio, where we're joined by one of our all-time favorite Bowling Green Bobcats, star of the Bowling Green basketball team, who graduated back in 2004, Mr. Brice Cox, who now has a wonderful new gig that he has as the Kent State Director of Basketball Sports Performance. First of all, I know you had a great career in high school and college basketball here in the Tri-States. Do you ever imagine your journey would lead you here, Brice?
Thanks for having me, Chris. I really appreciate you inviting me to do this. It's an honor to do this. No, to answer your question, not at all. I've always knew that from junior high days that being a basketball coach was something that I was going to do. And I thought that that to me in my mind was high school basketball coach, because that's what I knew, and it's a great profession and all that. And then just one thing led to the next, kept taking it to the next level, and now I've seen a lot of parts of the country and coached athletes from all over the world. So simply answer your question, no, never would I've ever thought this.
Some of this career is born of happenstance. If you don't get injured at Culver Stockton, if you're not too skinny going into Culver Stockton, you don't really discover your aptitude and your love for now developing players.
No, and that's it's basically exactly what you said. Graduating from Bowling Green in 2004, I was 6'4", 165 pounds, and was recruited by Coach Hill. Then he stepped down. Coach Johnson took over, and then he left, and then insert Coach Brad Hoyt. And, he really helped me understand the value of the weight room. And so after my first year of college basketball, I basically lived in the weight room and gained 25 pounds. Fell in love with the process of training and understanding why it's important, how it translates. And if most of you guys watched The Last Dance, you saw what it did for the greatest of all time. And so therefore, that relationship was developed, that changed my life. And through him, I was able to be connected with a guy by the name of Jeff Moore, former coach at John Wood, who him and Coach Hoyt are the best of friends. And that helped me get a graduate assistant position down in Natchitoches, Louisiana at Northwestern State. And then from there, being just a college basketball coach was on my mind, but yet I had a personal training background, loved being in the weight room, and they didn't have a strength conditioning program. And so the two worlds just collided, and it's worked out well ever since.
That has spun forward into Division I, and that's a pretty amazing part of the journey as well. Walk us through that next step on how you get to Kent State, because that's kind of a fascinating road for you.
Yeah, coming from small town Missouri, I didn't realize how big the landscape of college basketball was. And that's all levels. And now you take it down to just the Division I level. It's even great in its own self of how big and how vast it is. But so I go to Northwestern State in Louisiana. I spent about a year and a half there, almost pretty much 2 years. And through that, I was able to connect with my mentor, who's now the director of sports performance at Tulsa, David Dietz. He was a director at Northwestern State and became Mike Anderson's guy when they were at Mizzou. And so anytime I would come home, I would head over to Columbia and just go sit in his office and just pick his brain and just try to learn as much as I can. And then Coach Anderson took the job at Arkansas, and we still had the connection there. And he basically offered me a volunteer GA spot there, meaning there was no stipend, there was no form of income from it. And of course, with the blessings from the staff at Northwestern State, they told me I have to do it. And so I was able to do that. I was there with Coach Anderson and Coach Dietz their first year through Arkansas. Made it that first year and pretty much most of the summer. And then I was able to be hired full-time as a assistant director out at Coastal Carolina University out in Myrtle Beach, where not only was I in charge of men's basketball, I also had men's and women's golf, and I was an assistant with football. And through that, working for a guy by the name of Cliff Ellis, who's coming up on 800 career basketball wins, just continue to learn more, continue to have more contacts. And then Paul Lusk at Missouri State hired me to be his director of basketball sports performance. As an opportunity to come back home, opportunity to be in the Valley. I thought it was a great career move. It still was. I wouldn't change it for nothing. But unfortunately, things happen in the coaching industry where universities make changes. It's just the ugly side of the beast. And when the new coach came in, he decided he wanted his own staff. He wanted everybody new. And so therefore I lost my job as well. Luckily, a guy by the name of Matt Sly, who's assistant coach here, gets hired on here at Kent State. And then this job comes open, and he advocates and pushes for me and helps me get this job here. And so now I'm basically going on my 10th season overall in the Division I basketball level. And this is I just finished my second year here, getting ready to start my third.
A lot of this for you has connections, and obviously it's been a really interesting road to this point. What did you learn about yourself trying to evoke the best in performance of others, Brice?
Number one, first and foremost, you got to be the best at wherever you're at. If you go into this business trying to chase a paycheck, it's going to lead you down a dark road, and you owe it to your program, your university, and your athletes to no matter what it is, make it the best possible that you can, and the rest will take care of itself. And you can't do that alone. You have to have people in your corner. You have to have people that trust you, and you have to continue to make a name for yourself. And by doing that is reaching out and introducing yourself, getting uncomfortable and visiting with coaches, and just constantly trying to get feedback and constantly trying to learn. And I would also say that the story is still left to be, untold. There's still so much more to do. When that day happens, we don't know, but you have to do what's right in the moment right now.
What's a typical day like for you? I know we're in the COVID-19 thing, but let's pretend we're not. What's a typical day for you in the life?
So if we were typically right now, right now it's finals week for my athletes. So we would actually be on hold for everything because the rule is that once you start finals, you have to shut everything down. But doesn't mean that they can't come in voluntarily. But if we back up a little bit, let's say the season ended, we give them their 2 weeks off. I have, like I said, men's and women's basketball. And so typically I'm very fortunate enough not to have to be in the weight room at 6 a.m. every day. Now, back when I had golf, that was a different story, and football. But here, my day, I usually get to the office about 8:30, in preparation for my first team of the day, and that's usually my women's basketball team. And some days that'll be the whole team at once. Some days that'll be in groups. It just depends on what the structure is that day, whether coach wants to do a full team workout together or he wants to do individuals, whatever it may be. So I usually – let's just say that they're starting at 9 a.m. and then after that we'll follow up with individuals or team workouts on the court. And I go up there. I can't participate in on-court coaching, but I can participate in recovery, pre-warm-up practice and stuff like that. But the NCAA doesn't allow me to do X's and O's or skill coaching or whatever you want to call it. So that usually runs from about 9 to 12:30, 12 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock, it's the men's team rolling in. And again, same goes for them. They may have the whole team in. They may have a few of the guys in, depending on what coach wants to do with the team, whether it's a full team workout or individuals all day long. But yes, we'll do, I'll train them, whatever the focus is on that day. And then after that, it's up to the court, again, for pre and post practice work. Then I follow that. I have to get some office work in. I have to go back in and write notes, check over, like, how do we do today? What did I see? What needs to be fixed? What can I advance them on? What do I need to take back? What do we need to do moving forward? And so I'll go in and I'll file all those, and then just get ready for the next day, plan out what we're doing the next day, who needs what time's what, make sure my schedule's lined up and everything. And then of course I got to spend some time in there and let my old man throw some weight around and try and stay in shape best I can.
From your standpoint, I know you've had some really rewarding successes with some of the athletes you've worked with. Kind of detail kind of what's meant to you and some of your stories.
Well, that's what I love about my job is the relationships you can build, and any coach will tell you that, no matter what level. I'm fortunate enough that in my 10 years of doing this, I've had high-rated players, I've had NBA athletes, I've had athletes that go overseas. I've coached an athlete from every single continent, minus Antarctica, obviously, in the world, and that's been very rewarding. My women's basketball team here, they are unbelievably talented, unbelievably great hard workers. We actually won a MAC East title this year, and there's at one point we'll have 4 freshmen on the court, or 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores, and we're a very competitive league. We're top 10 league in the country, and so just that aspect of things has been really, really great. And then the other thing is a lot of the headlines this year was we have a young man who's autistic, and he's been the first Division I college basketball player to be on scholarship play and score that's been diagnosed with autism. And so that's kind of been a national blow up. And it's crazy because I'll look on my social media and I'll see a lot of people from back home, posting the videos and the headlines and whatnot, and they have no idea that I get to coach that young man every day. And he's been a true blessing. He's an unbelievable athlete. That's what a lot of people don't realize is if we didn't offer him a scholarship, somebody else was ready to give him one as well. As a matter of fact, he got several offers. It's a lot of Division I offers, and like I said, he's a superlative athlete. He can move, he can go, and he's got a lot of skill to him. He just needs to continue to develop and get right for this level of basketball.
You kind of touched on him. I mean, he's a guy that's made inordinate progress underneath you, which has to feel really, because he was a big dude when you got him and slimmed him up some, haven't you?
Yeah, he came in with a shoulder injury from playing in prep school and stuff, and so he wasn't full go. And as anyone knows, when you have to take time off to recover from surgery, you're gonna naturally gain some weight. And so he's about 6'10", 287 now. The goal is to continue to trim him down and continue to make him bigger, faster, stronger. But when he came in, he was 6'10", 330 some pounds. He's worked tremendously hard. I don't want to sit here and say I did everything. I didn't know. He just followed what I did and worked his tail off. But yeah, he's done a great job. And like I said, the sky's the limit for him. And that's the other process of it is that it's not that like, oh, he has autism or anything like that. He just processes information a lot differently than most. And so that's really helped me and allowed me to understand how to be a better communicator, because that's the start of everything, is being a great communicator, no matter who your athletes are, no matter whether they have, depression, anxiety, whatever it may be. You got to understand that if you can communicate with your athletes, then they'll trust you. And once they trust you, you can get them to do just about anything, because no matter what, you're always in the best interest of what your athlete needs to do to succeed.
You played during a really salad days portion of Northeast Missouri high school basketball back in the early 2000s. And, the names there are pretty familiar and famous across Northeast Missouri, from Aaron Hill to Mike Smith, yourself, Garen Suddarth. You touched on these guys. What was that like, and how much of your basketball experiences and the things you've learned on the basketball court do you spin for into your profession?
I am very glad that you brought that up, because that gives me a chance to remind everyone back home what it was like. You also got to throw in Jarrell Humphrey and Greg Dilligard, those guys in there. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I think in 2004, all 5 of us first team all conferences were also all state, with 2 Division I players, Garen Suddarth, second team all conference and all state, with a state championship on their belt. And so we had multiple teams win 20 games, and that competitiveness was just amazing, because if it's hard for you to advance in anything if you're not competitive. And those trying to be the best in a small community like that, it helps you gear up for other things in life, to be best husband, best father, whatever it may be. And coming out of high school, I continued to want to be the best coach, wanted to be the best at what I could do. And it's the same thing now on a global standpoint with being a strength and conditioning coach. My goal is to be the best best guy in the country. That's going to be very hard to do. But let's even make it even smaller. Be the best in the MAC, and then if there's a next journey in my life, be the best at that. And so that's really carried over quite a bit.
From the standpoint of being the best, don't you also, and I think it's always been important, you want to be best of Bowling Green?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Don't you want to be the best representative of Bowling Green?
Oh, absolutely. I try to represent my hometown as much as I possibly can, because first and foremost, I take them with me wherever I go. I've lived in several different places, as I mentioned earlier, and what I've known, what I've grown up with, the way I was molded, the way my parents provided for me and brought me up, is it goes with me everywhere possible. And to this day, still very proud of the things that are happening within that community. Luckily, I got guys like you that I can check up on and see what's happening in Bowling Green all the time. And so, yeah, there's constant pride in the things that I see, and I'm very highly impressed with what I'm seeing, and very proud to be a part of that and come from that.
Anything you want to shout out to the good folks watching you at home? Because I know you don't get a chance at home often.
No, I mean, I do miss my town a whole lot, miss my family, miss my friends. And like I said, I take Bowling Green everywhere I go with me. There's not a day goes by that there's not a story of some sort of experience that has helped me get to where I'm at, and that involves Bowling Green. And, I can't leave without saying, my number one reference is Canes from Bowling Green, just to remind everyone.
Glenn Jacobs, giving Brice all the cachet. Brice, thank you for doing this with us. Tri-States is inordinately proud of all your successes, and keep up the great work, my friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all you do. Appreciate all you do for Bowling Green, and thank you for having me. And if anybody needs anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.